Open Water 2, Adrift. Open Water 2, Adrift, also known simply as Adrift or Open Water 2, is a 2006 psychological thriller film filmed entirely in Malta, starring Eric Dane, May Pratt, Richard Speight Jr., Niklaus Lange, Hillis, and Cameron Richardson. The film was inspired by the short story Adrift by Japanese author Koji Suzuki, from which it took its original title, but promotional posters claimed the film is based on actual events. The film has no connection to Open Water 2003, and the script had been written before it was theatrically released. After Open Water became a success, Adrift was produced and the name was changed to Open Water 2 Adrift in some countries to capitalize on the success of the earlier film. Plot: a group of friends, Amy Susan May Pratt, James Richard Speight Jr., Zach Niklaus Lange, Lauren Ollie Hillis, Dan Eric Dane, and Dan's new girlfriend, Michelle Cameron Richardson, go for a weekend cruise on Dan's new yacht. Amy and James also bring their infant daughter, Sarah. Most of the friends decide to jump into the water for a swim, except Amy and Dan, who are still on board with the baby. Amy is tending to her baby, Sarah, and puts her down for a nap. Amy then puts her life jacket, which she refuses to take off while on board, back on. Amy is hydrophobic after a childhood traumatic event. As a young child, while swimming with her father, he tragically drowned. Amy and Dan talk about her fear, but while he is talking, he scoops her into his arms, and as she screams, jumps into the water. The group realizes that nobody has lowered the ladder, leaving them unable to reboard the ship. Despite their efforts, the side of the yacht is too smooth to climb, and the deck is too high to reach. They see a boat of teenagers heading towards them, but as the group tries to grab their attention, the teenagers think that they are just greeting them and sail off. The group hears a phone ringing from Zacky's clothes, hanging slightly off the deck of the boat. However, the clothes fall into the water as Dan reaches for them. The phone is soaking, and as Zach tries to answer it, they hear the voices of some birthday singers but are unable to respond. The phone goes dead, and Zach angrily throws the phone into the ocean. Michelle screams and tries to retrieve it, but it's lost. They are left to tread water disconsolately. The group resorts to removing and using their bathing suits to make a rope. After a couple of attempts, they manage to get one end of the rope wrapped around a railing. Instead of having the lightest person climb up, the heavier Zach attempts to climb. He pulls himself up and his fingers brush the gunwale, but the makeshift rope rips apart as he is too heavy. The group are now mostly naked and have only a partial swimsuit rope. Meanwhile, James goes underwater and messes with the prop in an attempt to remove it and use it, but he drops the knife. He swims down after it and manages to catch it, then desperately panicking underwater, tries to swim for the surface. As he swims back up, he crashes into the bottom of the boat and is knocked unconscious. He resurfaces motionlessly and blood trickling out his head with an obvious skull fracture. Zach gets the knife from James and starts stabbing the boat to climb back up. Dan tries to stop him, but in doing so accidentally causes Zach to stab himself in the chest. Fearing that sharks will be attracted by the blood, the now hysterical Michelle begins to swim away, but sinks underwater. Dan swims after her and sees her lifeless body drifting underwater. He dives after her, but he can't reach her, and her body disappears into the depths. After some time, Zach dies from blood loss in Lauren's arms. She reluctantly lets go of his body, which floats away face down. Out of guilt, Dan admits that he doesn't own the yacht. After much waiting, Lauren says she refuses to die treading water and attempts to swim back to shore to find help. Her fate after this is unknown. Later that night, during a rainstorm, James dies from his head injury. Dan unsuccessfully searches underwater for the knife. He slams his mask on the hull in frustration, and the lens pops out. Remembering Zacky's attempt with the knife, Dan uses it to wedge in the crevice of the side door for the ladder, giving him a handhold. Amy climbs over his shoulders, finally stepping onto his hand wrapped around the lens, causing him to scream as his hand bleeds more, and manages to grab the gunwale and pull herself back on board. Once on board, she lowers the ramp steps for Dan and tends to her baby, Sarah. Amy notices Dan swimming away to drown out of guilt. She jumps back in to save him, reminding her of when she attempted to save her father in the same manner at a young age. The next morning, a fishing boat approaches the yacht and notices the lowered ladder and life rings still floating in the water. No one had pulled them in. The yacht appears empty except for the sound of Sarah crying on the lower deck. The film cuts to Amy standing on the boat in the sun, looking around, appearing heartbroken. Dan is shown lying face down on the boat, with a towel covering his lower half. Cast: Susan May Pratt as Amy, Alexander Roch as young Amy, Eric Dane as Dan, Richard Speight Jr. as James, Niklaus Lange as Zach, Ollie Hillis as Lauren, Cameron Richardson as Michelle, Matty Gabaretta and Christine Gabaretta as baby Sarah, Wolfgang Roch as Amy's father. Reception. Critical response. Open Water 2: Adrift received mixed reviews from critics. On review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 45% based on 11 reviews, with an average rating of 4.39/10. Box office. In the United Kingdom, the film opened at 327 theaters, grossing £337,474, averaging £10.33 per theater. 123 theaters dropped the film for the second weekend, and its ticket sales declined by 75%, making £85,541, averaging £419. During the third weekend, the film's sales tumbled 90% after 183 more theaters dropped it, making £8,896. The fourth weekend brought an additional 64% decline, and the film lost 13 theaters, while grossing £3,198. In Germany, the film's opening weekend brought EUR 293,601, averaging EUR 3,764 at 78 theaters. During the second weekend in Germany, the film grossed EUR 121,997, averaging EUR 1,564 at 78 theaters. In Spain, the film's opening weekend earned EUR 270,396, averaging EUR 1,767 at 153 theaters. During the second weekend, the film grossed EUR 139,503. In Spain, the film grossed at least EUR 713,834. Sequel. In 2017, Lionsgate acquired the Australian-produced independent film Cage Dive, a found-footage shark attack film, and released it as Open Water 3: Cage Dive. The film is a sequel in thematic elements only and shares no characters or continuity to the previous two entries.